1 Corinthians 13:12 says this, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall be known fully, even as I've been fully known." This passage is describing a time when Christians shall see our Lord clearly and all that he has for us. In a similar way, this class has helped me to see the U.S. Constitution more clearly and help straighten out some misconceptions. First, for some time I've appreciated the fact that many of the founders were strong Christians. At the same time, I knew that there were some who we would not call evangelicals. What they all had in common, though, was a Christian worldview. They knew that there was a creator and that man was created in the image of God. And because he was created in the image of God, he wanted to reflect that image back to God. Man was also given rights. And these rights are what we call a part of the natural or divine law. As we've learned in this class, divine law is fixed, it's objective, and is discoverable. And it has been impressed upon me how prevalent these truths are in the founding documents. In crafting the Constitution, the founders' worldview is clearly visible. Ellis, in The Legal Basis for a Moral Constitution, quotes Thomas Jefferson to give proof to that. The practice of morality being necessary for the well-being of society, he, God, has taken care to impress its precepts so indelibly upon our hearts that they shall not be effaced by the subtleties of our brain. We all agree in the obligation of the moral principles of Jesus. Even Jefferson, the deist, gives a nod to the Christian worldview. That worldview fleshes itself out in our founding documents. Second, I didn't understand or appreciate Alexander Hamilton's point of view against the Bill of Rights. Hamilton's perspective, according to Ellis, was the Bill of Rights was not inclined to grant rights to the people. Our rights are given by God and are inalienable. In other words, if these rights are inalienable, why does the government need to spell them out? Why does the government need to grant them? If the government can grant them, can the government take them away? In large part, we owe the Bill of Rights to the Anti-Federalists and their concern that the federal government would have too much power. However, Hamilton's thoughts and words have given me a new perspective and an appreciation on his view of the Bill of Rights. So not only have misconceptions been cleared up in this class, but I've been reminded again the importance of context. This reminder has come through the founding documents hierarchy. The hierarchy is a pyramid. At the base of the pyramid, we find divine law. According to Ellis, divine law authorities and origins are derived from God himself. And no legitimate authority exists outside of God. Divine law provides the authority for the founding documents that will come after. Divine law and its authority is at the base of the pyramid. The next level of the pyramid is the Declaration of Independence. And according to Ellis, Declaration of Independence is a legal document that effectively created independent political sovereignty of the United States colonies. It served to provide the legitimacy of this new nation. So at the base, we've got the authority of divine law. We've got the second level, we've got the legitimacy of the Declaration of Independence. The next level is the rationale, and the rationale is provided by the Federalist Papers and other writings. There are many forms of legitimate and illegitimate government. The Federalist Papers help the founders to work out the particulars of what their government would be. So finally, at the top of the pyramid, we have the U.S. Constitution, the supreme law of the land. The Constitution rests on the authority of divine law, the legitimacy of the Declaration of Independence, and the rationale of the Federalist Papers. The hierarchy provides a context for the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution did not take place in a vacuum. So some misconceptions have been cleared up and have been exposed. and I've detailed the context of our Constitution. Now I want to look closer at the importance of divine authority and the U.S. Constitution. And probably the best way to explain the importance is through the contrast, and the clearest example is the French Revolution of 1789. Benjamin Hart, in his book Faith and Freedom, argues this: the French Declaration did not acknowledge that the source of man's rights is man's creator. The French Declaration did not even state that the rights are inherent, inalienable, or derived from any transcendent authority. No, the rights for the Frenchmen came from an enlightened government. And the results for the French were disastrous. Their governments were based on tyranny and oppression. In the first 2 years, over 20,000 people went to the guillotine for political reasons. Years of struggle and unrest planted the seeds for a dictator, Napoleon. Now, at the other end of the spectrum is divine authority. Ellis clarifies, divine laws, authorities, and origins are derived from God himself. The universe, therefore, has objective and discoverable moral law. Society has value. Civil, church, family, government has limited powers that are derived from God's universal divine law. Thus, our Constitution, authority and legitimacy, comes from divine authority and can't be divorced from it. Our Constitution sets out to recognize God's sovereignty and supremacy. It enforces moral law, and its interpretation is unchangeable. Because of divine law, our Constitution implements and constrains power. This was accomplished through separate but equal branches of the government, and by establishing boundaries between the federal government and the state government. In many ways, Law 517 has done exactly what I wanted it to do when I first saw the course listing 2 years ago. This class has strengthened and encouraged my understanding of our foundation and how it relates to our Constitution. It's filled in gaps where I had a lack of knowledge or framework of the law. And despite confusion in our country today, it gives me hope. The U.S. Constitution gives me hope because of its solid foundation.